Well, we've talked about lunar eclipses. Now time to talk about solar eclipses. And you notice that the geometry is just reversed. Now the moon is in between the sun and the earth. Compared to the lunar eclipses, the moon was on the other side of the earth compared to where the sun is positioned. Again, we need the moon to be at a node in its orbit. The node is where the moon is on the ecliptic. The moon's orbit is tilted, its orbital plane is tilted compared to the orbital plane of the Earth, compared to the ecliptic, by about 5 degrees. So most new moons, the moon is either above or below the ecliptic, and the moon's shadow does not fall on the Earth. Again, this drawing is not correct to scale. The objects are too big, and the moon's shadow either goes above the Earth or below the Earth on most new moons. And why do I call this new moon? This side of the moon that's close to the sun is being illuminated. What we call the near side of the moon, the side that in this drawing is hard to determine where it is, but if you're looking from Africa towards the moon, you would see darkness basically for that side of the moon. It's new moon. Over here is first quarter. Back behind the Earth is full moon. Over here is third quarter, as the moon, from our point of view, orbits the Earth. So we have a situation here for solar eclipses with the moon eclipsing the sun. This shadow you can see is somewhat to scale. The moon's shadow is smaller than the Earth's shadow and just barely reaches the Earth. We will have an eclipse only at the phase of new moon. That's when we get the alignment happening. And we can have 3 types. We can have an annular eclipse when the moon does not obscure the full disk of the sun. Well, how can that happen? Well, I'd like you to put your hand in front of your face and move your hand closer or further away. When your hand is further away, it obscures less of the distant background. Same thing with the moon. The moon's orbit's not a circle. Sometimes the moon is further from the Earth at this node, and the shadow does not reach all the way to the Earth. In that situation, we'll see a ring of bright light around the portion of the sun that the moon does obscure. A partial eclipse, the moon just obscures part of the disk of the sun. And then the total eclipse, the most dramatic one, when the moon covers up the full disk of the sun. The moon covers about half a degree on the sky. The sun is also about half a degree on the sky. The sun is much larger, of course, but it's much further away. So it turns out they have about the same angular size. So let's go just a little further here. Again, we have umbra and penumbra. The umbra is the dark portion of the shadow of the moon, and that's where the total eclipse occurs. In the penumbra, we have a partial eclipse, and even there, when part of the sun is obscured, it's not safe to look directly at the sun. As the moon is in its orbit here, this shadow is going to be tracking across the Earth. The shadow of the moon moves because the moon is moving, and totality lasts just a few minutes. I think around 7 or 8 minutes is the max that you can have. Tracking across the surface of the Earth, the track may be 10,000 miles long, but the track is only about 100 miles wide. So you do have to be in a special location to view a solar eclipse. For the lunar eclipse, you can be just anywhere it's dark and see the moon. But here we have the total solar eclipse, the disk of the moon here. There's an outer atmosphere of the sun that we'll study called the corona. It's not very bright, but against the dark sky it can be viewed. This is the very outer atmosphere of the sun. The annular solar eclipse, as I mentioned before, the moon is further away in its orbit and the shadow does not reach the Earth. So we get this bright ring around the moon, a photograph here. So again, the disk of the moon covering up a good portion of the disk of the sun. This is not safe to look at with your eye. There's still too bright, too much energy from the sun for your eye to handle. Eclipses can be calculated many years in advance, and they've been done so for centuries. There's a regular pattern to when eclipses occur. And so March 20, 2015, if you live in Europe, Northern Europe, I think it is, we'll have a total solar eclipse. March 9th, 2016, go to Australia, nice vacation, total solar eclipse. The one I'm waiting for, August 21st, 2017, the track across the United States, I think starts in Oregon and then goes through the southeast United States, but does track in between Lincoln and Beatrice. And it's a little over 2 minutes of totality. Hope for a clear day, August 21st, 2017. So you ought to be writing down some questions about eclipses, both the lunar and the solar, and we'll try to answer those in class if you're in my class, or by email if you're not in my class.